This is Winning with Holistiplan. My name is Roger Pine. I'm one of the co-founders of Holistiplan. And today I'm with my dear friend, Lauryn Williams. She is the founder, financial advisor. She's the founder of Worth Winning. And I'm super pumped to talk with her because it's been a long time. Lauryn, great to see you. How you doing?
I am doing wonderful. And I am, in fact, a CFP now. I don't know if you knew, but
No, I know.
yes,
Sorry, I should have said
uh,
that.
you know,
CFP,
financial
yep,
advisor is just so bland. Blah.
totally. Yeah, CFP financial advisor. Lauryn, we should tell the story of how we know each other, how we met. Do you remember how we met each other?
I, I think you should tell the story, and then I fill in with color commentary.
Okay, well, I mean, all right, so my version is our firm was in like College Station, Texas, which is not a big town, not a huge town. It is the home of Texas A&M. And then randomly one day, the person at reception's like, "Yeah, some rando stopped by with a resume."
That's good
It,
color commentary.
just like rando dropped off a resume at the front desk and said like, "Hey, I saw there are a lot of CFPs in this building, and I'm looking for work while I'm in town." And we're like, "All right, let's take a look." And it was an unusual resume, right? And we'll
Why,
talk
why
about
was it
that.
unusual? I don't understand.
Yeah,
What
we'll
do you
talk
mean?
about that part. But yeah, and so we worked together. So you and I worked together. We hired you, and we worked together. I guess in your first job in financial planning. Is that true? I don't know.
That is very accurate. You
All
left
right.
out a few. Let me add the color commentary.
Okay,
So
go for it.
I was in a deep state of distress because I had no idea what I was going to do with life after sport. I wanted to help people organize their finances. I blindly enrolled into the certified financial planning coursework and was like, hey, I should probably hang out with other certified financial planner people. Like you said, College Station only had two financial planning firms, and you guys had way more CFPs. And I was like, I'm going to go there. I spent all day making a resume because I didn't have one in the
Nice.
profession that I was currently in. I show up there and I say, hey, I want to work here. Here's my resume. And yeah, the girl definitely looked at me like I was a rando. She did go off to the back and come back. And she said, you need a cover letter in order to be able to turn this resume in. We're not actually hiring, but we absolutely would need a cover letter either way. So I
Dang.
went home,
Okay.
Googled how to make a cover letter, and returned because I think she thought she was getting rid of me, but she wasn't.
Nope.
And then the interview process started, and I had my first job in financial planning, and it was night and day from the service I had received with the financial advisors I had worked with previously. And that is what made me want to join the industry.
Wow, that's amazing. Although I'm kind of sad that I don't remember the cover letter at all. Because if you did all that work to write a cover letter and all I remember is your resume, I feel bad.
It probably was not amazing, but I went and I made
I mean, you
one.
got to start somewhere, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
So you alluded to this, but I mean, of course, your history before you were a financial advisor, a very accomplished athlete, 4-time Olympian in Summer and Winter Olympics. So obviously that was a big part of your life, and we'll talk about that. Actually, we should talk about that because when you joined us at that time, I know your inspiration around that time was you wanted to really help athletes who are in that position, who are individual athletes in particular, or at least Olympic athletes. So maybe we should start there. I'd love to hear about what are some of the unique challenges that you faced and that other athletes like you face that those of us who are not Olympic athletes or not even close to Olympic athletes may not realize are part of their financial lives.
Yeah. Well, the first piece of the puzzle is that athletes are going to retire twice. We're going to retire once from sport and then a second time, like everyone else, at some point in life. And while we see kind of the big three sports, or probably the big four, the hockey, basketball, baseball, footballs of the world, there are a lot of Olympic athletes who compete full time and earn a living doing so, but not the kind of living that you would earn in some of those bigger sports. And so we need to plan accordingly. And we also have majorly fluctuating income. So
Mm,
that's also a key piece of the puzzle. And so I did enlist the help of a financial advisor, but I didn't end up in the hands of an advisor that was doing a really good job. Like you said, was not a certified financial planner. I learned about the world of fee only. And that's something that's really important. That's become really important to me as I've learned kind of the industry, but not a good experience. And that's what made me really wanted to decide I wanted to help athletes. Is like, hey, we're out here looking for proper advice. We have good income, but we don't know where to get that advice. and certified financial planning. Actually, like I said, a Google search is what led me to find that. While I was still competing. So I am the first American woman to earn a medal in both the Summer and the Winter Olympics, 4 Olympic Games, 2 silver medals, and 1 gold medal. Um, and you all met me when I thought I was at the very end of my career. And it's like, I really got to get my money stuff together. So I was trying to learn about the CFP really more so for myself than it was because I knew or understood that there was a whole industry behind this.
Hmm.
Little did I know that I was not at the end of my career. I was going to go on and try the Winter Olympics after leaving
Yeah.
College Station,
Yeah,
right?
that's right. I remember watching it from the office. Yeah. Um, one of the things that I don't know if we ever talked about this, but my brother-in-law went pro in tennis for a while, and it's very similar. Like he, you and he, I think what people don't realize is like you're an entrepreneur, like you're running a business. I mean, I think like yeah, if I'm in the NBA, like there's a team bus and they tell you where to go and where to stay, and here's when practice is, and but when you're an individual athlete in particular, like you're deciding what meets do I go to or not? Like what's worth the money to invest in this? I've got sponsors that I have to keep happy. That's a customer I got to keep. I got to work on my brand and make sure all the things that had to go together, and even like international travel, getting visas together and all that stuff. It was really amazing to me the level of entrepreneurship required. And it was probably surprising to him and probably surprising to you when you went pro and how you were like running a business. And that may not be something that every athlete is prepared for. Just like a lot of advisors who work with, say, doctors, they have the same thing. Like you go to medical school, no one tells you that you got to go run a practice with 30 employees. Like that's not a thing they teach you how to do. And I imagine when you leave college and you're like, I'm going to go pro, there's not a way to say, okay, here's what you're getting into running this business. Am I accurate in kind of classifying in that way? You're the CEO of a business in a way.
100% accurate. And I can even attest to the physician piece of the puzzle as I have a physician husband that is in private practice. And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
we did a lot of like figuring out entrepreneurship together.
Yeah.
As I started my second business, I had a little bit more experience in the sense that I did as an athlete have to run a whole business, but so many athletes don't realize it or think of it as that when that's exactly what it is. Your coach, your massage therapist, your nutritionist, those are all employees, if you will. They may not be W-2s, but they're a part of your team that are investing in this business so that it can continue to earn money.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and just for those of us who are thinking about hiring people one day, just remember that, yeah, on paper, this athlete may not have a lot of office experience, but they've got a lot of life experience because they've been running this business for years. And so just keep that in mind when you're thinking about a Lauryn Williams walking into your office with a fresh resume.
And no
Um,
cover letter.
and no cover letter. Um, and you actually wrote a book, right, about this topic. I want to give it the right name, called The Oval Office: A Four-Time Olympian's Guide to Professional Track and Field, which I'm assuming kind of covers this topic. So the missing guide that you didn't have when you left school to help people hopefully navigate this world. Is that right?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's my gift back to the sport that gave so much to me. There were so many things that I just had to learn by doing, and I felt like this information needs to be shared. Athletes need to have the opportunity to learn without bumping their knee or putting their hand on the hot stove, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And so it includes branding, picking a coach, moving from one place to the next, adjusting the jet lag, and of course a financial chapter on what is a SEP IRA versus a solo 401k, and what are the different types of advisors out there. What kind of questions should you be asking them so that you can have organized finances because you are running a business. You need to set money aside for taxes. All those sorts of things are covered in that book.
Wow. Wow. Okay. On another call, I want to learn the story about how you ended up writing a book, because I know that's a whole project in and of itself. You probably need a
Oh,
book you need another guide about learning how to write a book. Maybe that'll be your next book, right?
it was not the most fun process. I'll give you that as a spoiler alert. And I do not plan to write another, even though people were like, "We want your full life story now," and I'm like, "No thanks."
Got it. All right. Well, we'll have to wait for the movie to come out then. That's fine.
Right.
So rolling the tape forward. So now, you retired from being a professional athlete, and so starting your firm as a financial advisor. And my understanding today, you and I have kept in touch, not as much as we should have, but I've kind of kept an eye on things. And it seems to me that one unique thing about your practice as a financial advisor is you have a unique focus on group type settings, group type in either events or engagements. And that's really interesting to me because I think, one of the things that I've kind of devoted this stage of my career to is how do we make financial planning more scalable? How do we get
Mhm.
beyond the just like, I'm one human who can serve 80 other humans? That's it. Well, the way I'm going is like technology. How do we give more efficiency back to this advisor so they can serve 85 humans instead of 80? But you're doing something interesting, which is these kind of group events. So I'd love to hear how that developed and where that stands now as part of your overall practice and offering.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go on a little bit of a tangent for a second and say my mom always says that we are a family that puts the fun in dysfunctional. So very short story is that I have 5 sisters and 2 brothers, and I don't share the same mom and dad with any of them. I either share a mom or a dad with either with some of with each of them. There we go. And the relevance there is like you would never know that outside of me saying, telling someone that. I just say I have 5 sisters and 2 brothers, and that's the end of it. But where the fun piece of it comes is like I'm able to think outside the box in a lot of different regards because I've had this like very incredible blended family. And so I like to think that I put the fun in financial, because we don't have financial planning, we have financial planning over here. So
Okay.
um to go back to where it all started, one of the big things that stood out as I was working at Brio was, there was a minimum number of assets that a client needed to have. And I remember talking to Natalie one day at lunch about, my personal finances and thinking like, gosh, she's such a wealth of information. Like I was making 200K as a professional athlete. There was no way for me to amass with the kind of level of intellect that I had or financial literacy that I had $1 million in order to be able to get access to such a wonderful firm. And that was kind of the catalyst for, like you said, the thing that got me really excited about the financial planning industry, but also saying like, how can I put the fun in financial and figure out how to be able to serve people in a different way? So I came as kind of this blank slate saying like, there's this way that financial planning is done and the way that people grow their assets under management and the way that firms run. And I'm like, all of that sounds boring and I don't want to do it like that. How can I do it instead?
Hmm.
So to get to the point of your question, I thought about the things that I needed as an athlete. I needed, like I said, basic literacy. Even though I had good earnings and I was willing to pay for help, it was like there's some other thing. I needed someone to say things in layman's terms. I didn't want, someone to talk over my head. I wanted to be okay to, use an F bomb if I needed to, or to wear a T-shirt and make people feel comfortable as opposed to being in a big conference room looking at fancy charts and graphs. That's not how we operate as athletes, and I found that was not how a lot of young professionals in general work. We like community, we like being able to connect with one another, and so my main service offering at this point is financial retreats. To your point, it's a group offering where we go to a location, either local in a city, so you kind of drive in for a staycation, or we go on an international location, which Colombia will be our first international location coming up here in January. Um, and we learn money stuff. We walk through the pieces of a financial plan over the course of a series of days. You have other people's real life experience to be able to kind of fill in the gaps in addition to my financial expertise pointing you in the right way. And then you also get accountability from one another. So you may not need a long-term ongoing financial planner, or maybe you do, but you weren't really open to even working with a financial advisor because of some of the things you've heard or you don't really understand them. You get in a really fun environment, you learn the basics, and then it's the catalyst for you to be able to continue on organizing your finances.